Did you know that 78% of people encounter a mobile scam every week? From that strange email demanding a password reset, to that text message claiming you have a traffic penalty, to any unknown phone number calling about outdated car warranties, mobile scams are everywhere today, and they can be hard to spot. But Malwarebytes Scam Guard makes it easy. Scam Guard is your free AI-powered digital safety companion that can review any text, email, phone number, link, or online message you find suspicious. It works 24/7 to keep you safe, no matter what you find online. Try Scam Guard today by downloading Malwarebytes for your smartphone on the Apple App Store or Google Play.
100%. If you think you're immune from scamming, you're wrong.
This is Lock and Code, a Malwarebytes podcast. I'm your host, David Reese. Our main story today is about why scams work. It can be easy today to discount a lot of scams, like the classic Nigerian prince email scams or the more recently popular job offer scams that promise $1,000 a day for just hours of remote work, or the ever-present phishing scams that seek people's passwords, credit card info, or other sensitive data. It can likewise be easy to then blame scam victims for falling for these or any other scam. It's easy to assume we know better, to believe we'd never make the same mistake, and to shift blame away from the people who deserve it, the scammers. But just because all these things are easy doesn't make them right. The fact is, we are inundated daily by online scams, and while scammers themselves have advanced many of their techniques, legitimate businesses have also adopted some of the same behavior as scammers, making all of our communications, messages, and outreach a little harder to trust. Look, we in the cybersecurity industry have always said, do not click on unknown links, and yet unknown links are the preferred method for sending actual package and parcel delivery updates from companies like FedEx, UPS, and DHL. We have also, in the cybersecurity industry, warned people about sending direct messages on social media to accounts and people they do not personally know, and yet many legitimate businesses ask for these exact type of messages before then sending back promotional codes or discounts to would-be buyers. And of course, we've always been a little wary about scanning random QR codes, and wouldn't you know it, several years ago, seemingly every single restaurant put their menus behind QR codes. All of this, quite frankly, sucks, and it makes us more vulnerable to any variety of online scam, whether it's the simple impersonation of a big-name company in our email inbox, or the AI-assisted voice generation used for a virtual kidnapping scheme, or a well-timed letter in the mail that we think we can trust. It's the kind of thing that can even fool a professional. For several years now, Julie Ann Kerns has made a name for herself as a bit of a scam hunter. Popular on TikTok under the name Stay Safe with M. Jules, Kerns makes videos about scam awareness, education, and defense. She has posted countless profile pictures that are used and repeated by online scammers. She has flagged active scam accounts on Instagram and detailed their strategies. And perhaps most importantly, she just answers people's questions. By serving as a gut check for the internet at large, Kerns guides people to safety for their own personal encounters. Kerns is also well equipped for the role because she sees just so many scams on a daily basis. But last year, Kerns fell for a scam. Disguised initially as a letter from HM Revenue and Customs, or HMRC, the tax authority for the United Kingdom. Today, to help us understand the difficulties of being a scam victim, what happened during her scam experience last year, and why scam victims should never feel ashamed. We're speaking with Julie Ann Kerns. Julie Ann, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We are excited to have you here, and thanks for making the time. I wanted to start the show by just talking about the scam that you faced last year, right? From thieves who were impersonating, again, the HMRC. And again, for our US audience, that's kind of like our IRS. So what happened there?
So I received a letter in the post, which I thought was from the HMRC. And basically, it was to say that I'd overpaid my tax, which is very common in the UK. And obviously, the amount that I was owed back was in the region of £2,000. It asked me to go to a website, and normally they would send a check in the post, but then with the advancement of technology, I wasn't concerned about this. So I had to take a photograph of the back and front of my driving license and scan my passport through my phone. And then when I got to the end, it said that the money had already been taken.
So help me understand how that works here. What do you think was happening? You know, was the letter fake? Was the website fake? Like, what was going on here?
Well, my immediate reaction was to call the actual HMRC and have a talk with them to see what was going on. Obviously, their advice was to call the police. We have something in the UK called action fraud, which obviously they put me in touch with. The first thing they told me to do was to straight away report the passport and driving license as stolen, which sounds quite weird because you're holding it in your hand, but yeah, it's been stolen.
Yeah.
Which I did. And it's kind of a weird thing because when I looked at the letter that I had the year before, it looked exactly the same. There was nothing that stood out to me in the letter. So I had no idea how this had happened.
What I think is also important is that you were explaining the situation, right, where you went online, you scanned your passport, your ID. So last year, I also got a letter from our IRS that my wife and I had underpaid. It's far less enticing, right? I would like to ignore that letter, but I am not allowed to. And when I went through the IRS's portal, through the process for giving them even more money, I had to do similar verification checks that were pretty invasive, I would say. And there were multiple steps that did require uploading a photo of my ID. And it's just to kind of emphasize, this is the stuff that happens from, again, a legitimate government agency. I can see why it's so easy to think, yeah, this is just kind of how it works. This is what happens here. What happens after you report that your ID and passport are stolen, even though you're holding on to them? What happens afterwards? Like, do you get some level of recovery?
Not really. I mean, the only thing that happens is they get cancelled, so they can't be used, which obviously is the main important thing because then somebody could travel on your passport. Although I think that would be quite unlikely because they're not your face. But I say that, but I don't know nowadays.
Yeah, who knows?
And with AI generated photographs, and obviously with your driving license, that's the one that concerned me the most because obviously I drive in the UK, and if somebody's using your driving license, God knows what they could do with it. You know, that was quite scary. But it was just cancelled, and unfortunately, there's no reimbursement, so you just have to buy a new passport and a new driving license yourself.
Yeah. So the whole scam itself feels like it's this long mechanism to essentially do identity theft, like it's to take your ID and your passport. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, basically.
And I think for a lot of folks out there, it might seem like, I don't know, it's like the data is out there and they see that, okay, this money wasn't there. The money like was never there to begin with. I'm not entirely certain, right? We don't know what level here is a scam, but maybe afterwards they don't call HMRC, right? And so they're kind of just stuck. Again, I'm just trying to understand, is that, I think what the scammers are looking for is just, okay, let's steal this stuff and then they never follow up?
Yeah, because mainly obviously from what I've discovered, the end goal is to be able to sell these details.
We will talk about that, but I also wanted to move a little bit here into this idea that, right, we've had some scam experts on the show before, and we do a lot of work in trying to protect folks from scams, on online scams. And we have heard frequently, right, that there's this idea that no one is immune to a scam. I just wanted to pitch that to you and understand, how does that ring for you? Is that true?
Yes. Definitely. 100%. If you think you're immune from scamming, you're wrong. You have to be vigilant. Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was a tax letter. I just thought it was a rebate letter like anybody would get, and it's a normal thing for them to do. I had no idea that it was fake, because I actually, when I did the article for The Guardian, the photographer came out to my home and took some photographs, so they had a photo for the paper. And he said himself he could not tell the difference, because I had a real one, I had the fake one, and he could not tell the difference between the two. And that's quite scary. But also, I ask myself, because of what I do on my TikTok account and protecting people from staying safe online, and obviously the scam side of it, some people who know me thought, oh, well, this has happened because of what you do. But I don't share those kind of details online. And I did ask the question, how did they get my address? How did they get my name, probably, but how did they get my address? How did they get my national insurance number? Because they had them details on that letter.
Yeah, that goes such a step further from, like you were saying, what you do on TikTok. And I do want to ask, because we're bringing that up, how did this feel? You do have this, I think, very strong public persona, this presence online of like, look out for these things. Here are these accounts I found that are scamming people. Here are images that are being used and repeated, ad nauseum by like romance scammers. How did you feel when you yourself became a victim of a scam?
Fear was the first thought. Fear and confusion, because they've got some really personal details, and it's like, you don't know what they're going to do with it. You don't know what's going to turn up next. You don't know if the police are going to turn up to your door because you've done something illegal and your name's been mentioned. You don't know, in my case, which I'll talk about later about the loan, but you don't know if the courts are going to be after you for something you haven't paid for. Fear, definitely, and confusion, because of the fact you don't know how this has happened and you're confused about what's going on.
You said there that you mentioned a loan. Let's actually just talk about that right now. What happened there?
So I had a letter, and basically it was from a solicitor basically saying that someone, I don't know who, we've never found out who, had taken a loan out in my name and not made the repayments on it. So they were going to take me to court for it.
That feels like if I got that letter in the mail, like I have to stop everything I'm doing. I have to tell work, hey, I'm not present for a little bit.
I'm not coming in today.
Yeah, right.
I'm just gonna hide under the sofa.
Yeah.
I don't exist anymore. Yeah, that's how I felt like doing.
Yeah. I only exist on payroll. You still got to pay me, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you still got to pay me. Yeah, it was. It put the fear of God into me. To be honest, I was panicking. I did actually phone the solicitors, crying on the phone, because I was just like, I'm the victim of identity fraud and this has happened to me. I mean, luckily I was able to kind of prove that, because I've got crime numbers and things like that. And unfortunately, financially, it has crippled me. The thing is that, to me, I've sort of put this in a positive light, that the fact that I've gone bankrupt is a good thing, because if I hadn't, God knows how far this would have gone. And because I'm bankrupt, they've written off the loan. But it's scary how far that this can go.
Yeah, and a defense to being scammed should not be bankruptcy, right? Like this
Well, it should not be, but I mean, I've been doing this a long time now, and in all fairness, some of the stories that I've heard are a lot worse than mine. People that have given up their home, that have thought that they're going to be moving in with their scammer that they've got romantically involved with, that have bought plane tickets to go there, to go visit them, that have bought plane tickets for them to come home, that have spent their life savings. So in comparison to what I've been through, is quite small compared to what they've been through.
You've been mentioning, right, a lot of stories that you hear, a lot of, I think, just honestly, tragedy that you're learning about, these people who are being scammed, these innocent individuals. you've been hearing a lot of stories for several years. I wanted to know what got you interested in doing this, right? There are not a lot of folks, I think, like you. And so what got you interested in this work? Why do you do what you do?
I have a lot of enemies. Well, in the Nigerian world, I do, yeah. In the Asian world, I definitely do. So, I mean, obviously, I grew up without the internet,
Yeah.
and because I'm 48, believe it or not. and and obviously back then it was kind of a dial-up phone that used to dial when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so then the internet came about, and the first thing was MSN Messenger and MySpace. I still love MySpace, which I don't know if you're old enough to remember.
Yeah, I MySpace was my first social media platform.
Really? Mine too.
Yeah. We had the like the top 8, right, where you get to rank your friends in some vicious popularity contest. But yes, 100%. I remember MySpace. Yeah. Whew, different times.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously my sister's younger than me, so she introduced me to Facebook. So I had a Facebook, and that was like an ongoing thing. And I think a lot of people saw Facebook as a diary because they put their photos on there, they put their life on there. I've just got in the shower sort of thing was a bit of a theme at one point, I've just had my breakfast sort of thing on their status. I never took that role, but a lot of people did. And when back in 2022, it was November 2022, I got a message from a guy who claimed he was called Andrew. He said he was an orthopedic surgeon working in the military in Afghanistan. So it was a romantic scam, which obviously I'd not heard of before. And obviously after about 3 weeks of talking, he contacted me one night, and I remember doing the video, and he said, "My love, my internet is going to die in 24 hours if you do not help me. Please send me a gift card of £500 so that I can not lose my internet." And I thought, is this guy for real? Do you know? Really? It was crazy. And so I shared that on my TikTok, and it just went viral. It just went crazy. People were messaging me going, "Oh my God, I recognize that person. I know who that is." Whoa. And, like, "Oh, this has happened to me." And yeah, it just kind of went a bit mental from there, really. It just took off.
You were mentioning that, the first scam you encountered, this romance scam, it was this person pretending to be deployed to Afghanistan and that they needed money for internet. I wanted to revisit that. Is there anything real in the sense that, like, does the military not provide internet? Like, it's such a weird world, and I just wanted to ask that of you.
No, it's not true. No. There is quite a few military soldiers on TikTok that talk about the reality of, the military life. The military provide for them, they give them money, they provide food for them. Do you really think they're going to let them out, let them live on site and not pay food for them? But obviously a lot of times that these scammers, they use the sob stories, they use what we call trauma bonding, which is where they cling to your emotions and try and work on your feelings to grab your heartstrings. That is one of the things, and they will work on you for a while. Sometimes months. I've had people contact me and say, "Oh, well, he hasn't asked me for money yet. Do you really think he's a scammer?" And I'm like, "Oh God." But just because he hasn't asked you for money doesn't mean he's not.
Yeah.
There might be another reason.
Yeah, there's other signs. I wanted to switch back to the story you went through, right? And I noticed that you are one of the few people, I think, who is speaking out about, being scammed. It's pretty rare. And I think it's pretty commendable to go out there and say, "Hey, this happened to me. I'm going to talk about it." I wanted to just understand, why are you taking this public route?
Because there's a lot of victim blaming. I think it's one of the biggest, it's like it's a massive stigma around scamming, unfortunately. Take, for instance, I'm working with a mother called Shannon Heacock at the moment. She lives in Kentucky, and her son Elijah Heacock was lost on the 28th of February this year. He was the victim of sextortion through the first time I've heard of it, which was an AI generated photo
Yeah.
in a pornographic way. They sent threats for money, and basically he was gone within 45 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was very quick. I've been in contact with her, and I was quite shocked at the fact that this poor woman has received a lot of messages of goodwill, and people understanding what she's going through. But also, she had one particular message from a man who said that the reason that this happened to him is because he's not man enough. He was 16.
What?
16, and they said he's not man enough. This is what I don't get, is that, I would say to anyone that, think about this, if this is happening to someone in your family, would you take a different approach? Of course you would. And I think that is the biggest thing, is it's because of victim blaming. People don't come forward because they're frightened to, and I think especially male, they don't want to admit that. And I do get this in my inbox a lot. They'll share the story, but then they'll say to me, I don't want you to kind of put that on TikTok, please. I don't want that out there.
I can't even fathom what environment someone is raised in when they hear a story like the one we just heard and they respond to it with like, someone wasn't man enough. I don't know. It's so nearly inhuman. There's a small part of me that feels pity, There's a small part of me that's like, something's gone terribly wrong. Something has gone terribly awry to create and mold people like this. And I think it's important to just emphasize, don't respond this way to folks. No. Like, don't do that. Absolutely do not do that. If you are thinking of doing that, don't do that. No. It's not appropriate. It's not okay.
No.
It's never okay. I wanted to also ask, how have people reacted to your story?
To be honest, a lot of people have contacted me and sort of said, they're in awe of the fact that I'm able to speak out and talk about what's happened to me and sort of ignore the negativity. But I'm pretty good at ignoring the negativity. I do get it, but I just ignore it.
Yeah.
I just think they're a bit weird, But I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know if it is a scammer that's sending that negative post, because they're very good at setting up an account. And I'll tell you an instance of a story. This will make you laugh. I had a message from this person, and I've said many a time, sometimes I have to kind of do what they call scam baiting, which, if your viewers don't know what that is, it's basically, I wouldn't recommend it if you don't know what you're doing. And I say this honestly because you are dealing with criminals. And if you don't know what you're doing, it can be very dangerous. So you need to know what you're doing. And so, yes, I was dealing with a scammer. I knew he was a scammer. And it basically got to the stage where we got past all the formalities and all the rest of it. And it got to the stage, which it always will do, where it turned. And he started saying that his grandma was due surgery and he needed money for surgery. He wanted £500 for her surgery. So I have contacts where I can get crypto wallets shut down. So, of course, he gave his crypto details. So I sent it to the appropriate people and got that shut down so that he can't use it. So blocked his account. There's no point in reporting it to TikTok because they just don't find any violations or do anything about it. But then next minute, I wasn't sure at first, but next minute he created another account and he messaged me. And I read the message. I went, have I read that right? And he put, how dare you block me? My grandma is dying. She needs surgery. I sent you my Bitcoin wallet and you sent me no money. I thought, is this guy for real? When somebody blocks you, that means they don't want to talk to you. But this is what you're dealing with.
How common is it that like a scammer will follow up, and like double down like that? That sounds
very common. Very common. Yeah, very common. I mean, the thing is if you interact with a scammer, they will keep talking to you. That's the thing. That's why I always say, block them, delete them, don't talk to them, don't carry the conversation on. If you know it's a criminal, stop. because not only will they ask for money, they will talk to you for details because they can sell the details online. They will use your pictures. I had a lady who, didn't listen to my advice, and she knew he was a scammer. She was angry because she sent him money for a flight that he was never going to get on. He, again, told her he was in the military. She didn't listen to me. She went off on her own tangent because she was angry. And in effect, she wound him up, which she shouldn't have done. And she then came back to me and said, I don't know what to do. I said, why? What's wrong? And she said, he's taken my profile picture and he's changed the image to a pornographic image and he's threatening to send it to my family. I had to help her and send her in the right direction, which I can do, as to how to get that taken down. Because obviously we do have, I know in America you've got to take it down now, which is fantastic. And we have it here in the UK, and obviously the law enforcement in other countries in Europe have it as well, or they have other means of doing it. And also you have revenge porn helpline if you're over 18 as well. So yeah, there are ways to get these images taken down, so don't think that there isn't, because there is.
Yeah, we also have, where I live, our city attorney is taking down deepfake porn websites. And so
yeah,
he's suing these sites. He's actually just going after the sites that allow people to make pornographic images. That's what these websites are. It's come on. You mentioned that, when you're talking to folks, you warn them, block them, do not engage with them. I wanted to ask, because we've been talking around this issue, how no one is immune to a scam, I figure that scam education then can be really challenging. So I wanted to ask, what to you are the biggest red flags in the online scams that you help people with?
Okay, so I'm going to break this down because this was a very difficult question. Because obviously scams come in all sorts of forms. They don't just stick as one. You can't put, it's a bit like you can't put it in a box and say that's a scam, because that's not the case. You'd have loads of little boxes because there's different types of scams. I mean, some of the main things that I'd say is that moving from a platform that you're on to another platform is a big red flag, because they will try you. If you're on a social media site like X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, these are apps that are safe. They can't be deleted and they can be monitored and if need be, for investigation. Because I always say to any victims that I get, the one thing that I would do is always screenshot your conversation so you've got evidence. So they will always try to move you off. That's a massive red flag, because as soon as they do it to me all the time, as soon as they start talking to you, they will turn around and say, oh, I don't come on here very often, so can we move to Telegram, or can we move to Zangi? They go for Signal, Zangi, Google Chat, Telegram. Telegram's the most common one. And they will say to you, oh, I want to carry this chat on, but I don't come here very often. And they will try to move you. That's very common. And that can happen with all types of scams. When it comes to sextortion, the red flag for that is indecent images. They will ask you for images. They will pressure you for images. They will send you an image of themselves indecent. Believe me, that is not an image of them themselves. They've took that from somewhere. And that's how they've got that image, and they send it to you. So they're putting pressure on you to send it back. That is a major red flag. Do not do that, because that's going to lead down the road of what we call sextortion. So don't do that.
Yeah.
When it comes to romance, they'll always have an occupation that's working away. Pilot, oil rig. I've had soldier, doctor. What other things work away? Road. I've even had someone who works on roads, roadworks in America.
Yeah. That's a way, that's a way.
Yeah, that's a way.
Yeah.
But that's because then they have the excuse they can't meet you. They can't see you. They can just chat to you because they can't meet you. So that's why they say that. And that is a major red flag. The other thing is they tell you within seconds that they love you. Who the hell tells you in seconds that they love you? That is a major red flag. Please do not believe that in 2 seconds somebody loves you. That's crazy. And that is a major red flag when it comes to romance, because that's just crazy. Job scams, they usually use WhatsApp. and they will send you random messages through text, through phone call, asking you to add their WhatsApp number. That's very common. The other thing is that it's always emergencies. It's always sub stories that require money. That's another major red flag as well.
You said something really funny here, and I agree with it, that no one says I love you within 2 seconds. I am so curious, do you ever watch like a really bad rom-com or just like some like cheesy movie, and that is in the movie, like someone says I love you so quickly, like this love at first sight kind of idea, and do you ever watch it and go, no, stop that, stop doing that?
Yeah, I do. My mum says to me that I'm terrible for, like, if anybody gets close to me, that I get my running shoes on and run the other way. Because it's just not real. And a lot of the time, especially with romance scams that I've kind of figured out over the years, and through baiting I've also figured this out as well, is that scammers buy scripts online. That's what they do. And I mean, obviously I don't know how much they pay for them, but they do. They buy scripts online and they use these scripts when they talk to you. I've actually read a script that a scammer wrote. It was very interesting. A lot of it I laughed at it. I thought, really, does that actually pull someone in? Like, one piece was like, said, if she's got a dog, talk about her dog. On Instagram, if she's got a dog, talk about her dog. Look at her pets. Look at her interests. Yeah, and you see that they're using these scripts to talk to you. So it's interesting because when I'm baiting them and I want to turn the conversation a different way, they don't know what to do because I'm coming off script. They're like, what's she doing? I don't know what to do. Yeah. So that's very common. But yeah, they do. They tend to stick to a script. They have a script that they use and they tend to stick to it. And that is very common for them to do that. And calling, I mean, it drives me insane, but they call you my dear, my love, my queen, my princess. It's just, like, get me a bucket. It's just, seriously, it's just crazy, some of them. They really are.
The only word I have here, right, is enjoy. I do enjoy hearing about this because I can hear the sort of cringe that you have, you know, when you are receiving these messages. And it's this thing that you're doing. It's a good thing. You're putting yourself in this way to raise education, raise awareness, help people. You know, you're just like helping people online. And yet at the same time, there's like this excruciating factor of like, just like, can we cut it? You know, can we cut this crap? Just get to the scam already. Don't try to butter me up in this really weird way.
Yeah. Because, I mean, obviously, I was looking at my videos way back when I first obviously started this, and it's crazy. I was saying this to someone the other day. It's crazy how they know what I do. They can see the videos that I produce. They know what I do. But yet they still come into my inbox and they send me messages telling me how beautiful I am, how they want to get to know me. And I'm like, oh, for God's sake. And I've even like gone in a video and said, please stop sending me messages. I'm not interested. I would rather amputate my left leg than date someone on this bloody site. And yet they still send me messages. It's like, oh God. But they do. They just they're in my inbox now. I've got loads of messages waiting for me because they do. They just bombard me with messages. They will all try to contact you, and if you give them a response, they will stay. They're like a dog. You know, when you pat a dog and you give it attention and then it starts following you? Yeah, that's exactly what they're like. Yeah. Yeah, they just don't stop.
Less lovable.
Less lovable, definitely.
I wanted to close out here and just ask, what is the one thing you want people to understand most about scams?
That anyone can be scammed. Mm-hmm. You're not immune. And if you think you are, it's not because you're savvy, tech savvy, or careful. It's just because you're lucky because they ain't got you yet. I think the next time that you watch a video or you read an article about a scam story, just take a minute and think about the reaction you'd have if that was your mum or dad, or your sister or your brother, or a very close relative that you loved and cared about. from the reaction that you're giving because it's a stranger. And it's amazing how different your reaction would be. There's a lot of victim blaming out there, and it's the biggest problem we have, not just in UK, worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the UK, I know there is work going on to try and stop victim blaming so that more victims will come forward, because the longer that we take this abuse from these people, the longer they'll keep doing it. And the more that we speak out, and even if nothing happens, at least you're speaking out and making it aware that this has happened to you. And it's not something to be ashamed of, because a lot of the times these scammers, they manipulate. They're very clever. You've got to remember that it's a lot of the time you think that it's, somebody who's silly, who's just messing about. It's not. You're dealing with criminals. They know what they're doing. They're not stupid. I'm not putting them on a high horse because they don't deserve that, but they know what they're doing. They're very clever in what they're doing. And when they go for their victim, as I say, it's a target. A lot of the time they've studied you before they step in to your life and contact you. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. We totally understand, and we also emphasize that these are criminals. These are cyber criminals. They are dangerous folks, and at the same time, like you said, we never want to pump them up and put them on a pedestal and be like, oh, they're so advanced, they're so smart. Like, it's none of that, right? It's just that they are criminals. They're very efficient at what they do, and what they do is effective. And what they do is they steal people's money, they steal your details, they sell them on the dark web, they try to fund this underground economy that pulls in, hundreds of millions, if not billions, in pounds or dollars, and that's what you're up against. So, be careful. Julianne, I just wanted to thank you again for coming on today's show and for being so open about your scam encounter and what people really are going through online. So again, thank you for joining us. To our listeners, we'll talk to you again in 2 weeks. Until then, stay tuned and stay safe. And remember, you can read all our cybersecurity coverage on Malwarebytes Labs at malwarebytes.com/blog. Finally, our intro music is by Kevin MacLeod from incompetech.com, and our outro music is by Wowa from unminus.com. Today's show has been edited by our podcast consultant, Eric Johnson, at lightningpod.fm. Thank you, folks.